Hey you guys, so back for another 2018 book review, and I'm not really sure what book I'm on anymore. Maybe 8 or 9 for this month. I know, I'm going crazy with reading books this month. Like I said, it's been a rather uneventful month, and I've kind of been stuck, blah 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 blah. You guys don't want to hear about that. Anyway, so the book I'm reviewing today is An Unkindness of Magicians. And I have to say right away that this is not the kind of literature or novel I would usually ever tend to read. It is fantasy. I generally am not a fantasy reader. I'm generally not a sci-fi reader. I generally would say 80% of the type of literature that I read. I'm open to anything. I'm definitely 100% open to any kind of literature or book, but I would say I naturally gravitate to realistic or real fiction, meaning it's something that could be plausible or happen in real life. So, but you guys have to admit this is probably one of the most beautiful book covers ever to be seen or made. And even though they say don't judge a book by its cover, I'm sorry, I saw and I had to have it. And I actually have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. So, no spoilers, but this is basically a story about witchcraft or magic and, people using magic and what, the consequences of using magic are and all this kind of stuff. And I actually very much enjoyed the writing. It was very simple writing. It was a very simple read. It was a very quick read, but it was a very enjoyable read for the most part. I definitely think, sorry I didn't tell you the name of the author, Kat Howard. I do think she has a comfortable writing style, something that people can just read for enjoyment. This is definitely not one of the great literary works of our time. It's not something that you're going to pick up and go, wow, I'm just flabbergasted by the intensity of this novel. No. I would say this is a comfortable summer at the beach read that's going to keep you interested and, something that I have to definitely say for Kat Howard. I don't think I'm somebody who generally has difficulty picking up on plot twists or anything. I'm generally somebody who's kind of like, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So I was very pleasantly surprised by... I do not like the lighting here. It's like giving me weird hair. I don't like it. I was definitely surprised by the fact that there was definitely some plot twists that I was not expecting. So that was very enjoyable to me because I was like, oh, I was not expecting that to happen. So thank you for that, Kat Howard, for actually kind of putting in plot twists that I wasn't anticipating. Having said that, it's an enjoyable read. It's a quick read. It's a fun read. It's definitely a plot that I have not read. I don't know. Maybe this is a plot that is relatively repetitive for people who read a lot of fantasy or sci-fi. Maybe they're like, okay, this is something that we've read a million times. I don't read a lot of fantasy or sci-fi, so for me this was a relatively new plot, so that was also very interesting. I'm definitely giving it an A. I'm probably going to give it an A minus. The reason I'm going to give it an A minus, there was two things I didn't care for, and one of those things was I felt it had a little bit of an incestual feel to me, in that there was really only these 3 or 4. There was supposedly, I don't even know. They didn't really mention. She didn't mention in the novel how many wizarding families existed in this world, but there was many. But it seemed like everything that happened in this book really revolved around like 3 or 4 of them, and then it was always like some cousin or something from one of those 4 families that somehow related to something that was happening. And that to me I felt was a little bit of a stretch. I kind of was like, all right, how is it possible that everybody is so kind of incestual in these, like, that to me was, I didn't like. And the other thing I didn't like is, this is going to sound weird because this is actually a very satisfying novel. And what I mean by that is, I think anybody who's really an avid reader knows that everybody has probably picked up that book, or picked up, generally I think most books are actually like this, where there's somebody in the book that you just hate, or that there's like the mean people, and when you're reading the book, you're really starting to get annoyed because you're like, oh, this person is so mean, this person is so evil, and how did they get away with all these things, and all the good people don't do anything about it, you know what I mean? So this book is actually very satisfying in that the bad people get what they deserve, and they get it in a very timely manner. It's not one of those books where the bad people just keep doing bad things and keep doing bad things, and all the good people are just like, I'm a freaking idiot, I can't figure out what to do, you know? So it's not frustrating in that way, which was something I actually thought I would enjoy in a novel, but then I actually now I'm kind of knocking it down a little bit, because I felt like it was almost too comforting of a read. I kind of was constantly waiting for something to happen, like one of the main characters to be killed off, or something, just something that kind of makes you go, oh, you know what I mean? But it was really just kind of like, it was almost too satisfying. It was like there was the bad guy, and within like a couple of chapters that he was caught, and then everything went kind of honky-dory, and everything was happy, and it kind of almost felt like you were cheated that big, you know, crazy apocalyptic point that happens like 3/4 into the novel, where you're like, no, oh my god, they killed my favorite character. You know, at the very, very end, there is something that I guess you would say is a little bit tragic, but I don't want to give any spoilers, but I almost felt like the tragedy at the end was just kind of stupid at that point, because everything was so feel good. All the bad people got what they deserved. They got what they deserved without really anything bad happening. You know, that at the very end, the bad thing that did happen was almost kind of like, well, at this point, you might as well have just made it a happy ending, you know, and like it didn't feel, yeah. So anyway, I definitely do recommend, look at the gorgeousness of this cover. I definitely do recommend this book as a nice, quick summer read. Yeah, so let me know if you read the book, if you're interested in reading the book, if you have any questions, and take care. Bye.